All right, let's talk about the future. Today, we're going to break down the 5 absolute key tech skills that are going to define career success in 2026 and beyond. And look, this isn't just some random list, okay? This is a deep dive into the major trends that are driving the industry, what the top companies are really looking for, and how you can get yourself ready. So let's jump right in.
And I'm going to start with a question for you. Are your tech skills actually future-proof? Because the reality is, the tech world is moving at a dizzying speed. What was considered cutting edge just a couple of years ago is now becoming the baseline. So, staying ahead of the curve, that's not just a nice to have anymore, it's an absolute necessity.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll cover the why, what I'm calling the 2026 career mandate. Then, we'll get into the weeds of each of the 5 critical skills, one by one. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about what this means for you and how it all connects to becoming that top-tier, high-earning professional.
So, why all the urgency? Well, it's simple. The game has changed. The skills that might have landed you a solid mid-level engineering gig a few years back, that's just the entry fee now. The 5 skills we're about to go through are what truly separate the average engineer from the senior-level talent that companies are fighting over. All right, let's kick things off with skill number 1. And honestly, this is the big one. System design mastery. We're talking about the ability to architect massive, distributed systems, the kind that can handle millions of users and not even break a sweat.
This quote really says it all. System design has become this huge filter in the hiring process. Why? Because it's the single skill that proves you can think bigger than just a few lines of code. It shows you can build robust, scalable systems that can handle all the messy complexity of the real world. It's the gatekeeper to senior roles.
So when you really dig into system design, you're learning to think at a whole new scale. You're tackling huge problems like how to design for millions of users at once. You're learning about making critical trade-offs, and you're getting hands-on with concepts like database sharding, caching, load balancing, and microservices. This is basically the grammar of modern software architecture.
And speaking of trade-offs, here's a perfect example. This is a classic dilemma. Do you go for consistency, making absolutely sure that every single person sees the most up-to-the-second data? Or do you prioritize availability, ensuring your system is always up and running, even if it means some data might be slightly stale for a moment? Knowing how to make that call is what senior engineers get paid the big bucks for.
And hey, if you need any more proof, just look at the companies that demand this skill. If you're aiming for a senior role at Google, Meta, Amazon, Netflix, you name it, strong system design skill is not a nice-to-have. It is completely non-negotiable. It's the price of admission, period. All right, moving right along to our second skill, advanced algorithms. And let me just answer the question I know some of you are thinking. Yes, they absolutely still matter. A lot. But here's the thing. This is not just about passing a coding interview anymore. Having a really deep, intuitive grasp of advanced algorithms fundamentally changes the way you write code day in and day out. It helps you build way more efficient solutions, and, this is key, it gives you the ability to instantly spot performance problems that most other developers would completely miss. So, what we're talking about here is moving way past the basics. We mean getting into advanced data structures like graphs and tries, really mastering dynamic programming patterns, and understanding critical graph algorithms. But the real goal here isn't to just memorize solutions. It's to build up this powerful sense of pattern recognition that you can then use to solve hundreds of different problems you've never seen before. Okay, on to our third essential skill, and that is cloud architecture. In today's world, let's be clear, this isn't an optional extra. This is a core competency for any serious software engineer.
The message on this one could not be more direct. Pretty much every company on the planet is on the cloud now. The days of businesses running their own servers in a closet are over. So whether it's AWS, GCP, or Azure, if you don't know how to design and deploy applications built for the cloud, you are putting a very real, very hard ceiling on your career.
And if you need a more tangible reason to care, well, here it is. Just look at the money. The data clearly shows that engineers with serious cloud skills can earn 30, even 40% more than their peers who don't. That is a massive salary bump, and it directly reflects just how much demand there is for this expertise. Now for our final 2 skills. We're actually going to group these together, and for good reason. They really represent the practical, hands-on tools of the trade for modern development: Kubernetes and API design. I want you to think of these as the 2 pillars that are holding up pretty much everything in modern software development. Kubernetes, on one hand,
is how we deploy and manage our applications when they get really big. And APIs, on the other hand, are how all those applications talk to each other and to the outside world.
So let's talk about Kubernetes, or K8s, as you'll almost always hear it called. It has become the gold standard for managing containerized applications, and knowing it is what separates an engineer who can confidently handle a complex, large-scale deployment from one who's stuck in the past.
And then you've got API design. Every developer on Earth works with APIs every single day, but very few know how to design a great one. And in our hyper-connected world, being able to build APIs that are clean, scalable, and a joy to work with, well, that's a genuine superpower, and companies will pay a premium for it.
Okay, so we've covered the 5 skills. Now I want to zoom out and put all the pieces together. What happens when you start mastering these areas? What kind of professional do you become? Well, you become the 200K plus professional.
The goal here is to become what's known in the industry as a T-shaped professional. It's a simple idea, really. You develop deep, expert-level knowledge in 1 or 2 key areas. That's the deep, vertical bar of the T. But you also have a broad, solid understanding across a bunch of other related fields, and that's the horizontal bar on top.
And it's that powerful combination of depth and breadth that truly commands the top salaries in this industry. We are talking about total compensation packages that go well north of $200,000. It's the reward for becoming that high-impact, well-rounded engineer that every company wants.
And this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. Learning these skills isn't just about the next job. It's a direct investment in your own future. The hard work and the time you put in today, in 2026, is exactly what's going to build the foundation for where you are in 2027 and beyond.
Which, of course, brings us to our final question for you. Looking at these skills, understanding what it takes to get to that next level, are you ready to start building that future?